Those announcements of decommits sure sound better when they're on the other side, and there might be hope that they come your way. Welcome to Miami Hurricanes Live for a 170th time here at the Voice of College Football. The great majority of those brought to you by Mr. Cam Underwood from State of the U, with the boys hitting the practice field, I believe, on Friday.
Yeah, man. So Friday being tomorrow, guys. So we have made it through the majority of the offseason, with fall camp starting tomorrow evening, Friday evening, as we are sitting here recording on Thursday night. But yes, so hello and welcome to everybody. Good to see you. Good to be here. And yeah, we're going to have some Miami Hurricanes football, not the actual game, but at least the team on the field starting from tomorrow.
You folks know the drill. Leave your comments, your questions, debate topics, whatever you've got in the live chat. I will get to those momentarily. Of course, there's some news to get to off the top. Want to remind everyone to hit that super chat, or you can always donate at Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App. I would just ask that when you search Mark Rogers TV, that you would leave a note concerning this particular show. All right. Traquan Fagans, we talked about him last week with the anticipation that he would commit, and lo and behold, he certainly did not disappoint.
Yeah, that was you saw that one coming from a mile away if you're following recruiting, and that's a big get. You know, he's a 6'2" corner from Alabama. Was a state champion, state defensive player of the year last year. Somebody from the state of Alabama hopped in my mentions after I retweeted my Welcome to the U piece and said that he had 11 touchdowns last year between kick returns and interception returns. Yeah. So, definitely special. So, you pair him with Chris Graves and MarkRogersTV, and that's a three-man cornerback class that is, again, it's the best that Miami's had. All three of them are the individual best cornerback that Miami has recruited since Tracy Howard in 2012. And again, it's like the Jamaican women's 100-meter relay team are individuals who all three broke records in the same race. You know what I mean? So even the third place would have broken the previous record, and so is the state of Miami Hurricanes cornerback recruiting. So, the impact of DeMarcus Van Dyke and Travaris Robinson on recruiting, obviously, like the results speak for themselves. So, you add another player of that caliber, another blue chip guy, another guy who, all of them are 5'11". 5'11", 6'1", and 6 foot and 6'2", I believe, are the three commits. So you have good size. You don't have any, pint-sized cornerbacks. And look, I know those guys can play here, and you can have one or two on the roster from time to time, but your whole cornerback group cannot be Corey Couches and Trajan Bandies, which is what it's been. So you get game-ready size in terms of height and length in Fagans, because, he's the tallest one at 6'2". And so, he had an event set up down here in South Florida and everything that I saw another couple outlets went to and whatnot. His whole family was here and whatnot. And he, set his commitment date, knowing he was coming back on this unofficial visit, coordinated with the venue, had the whole thing. And people are like, bro, he's going to commit to Alabama. He's going to do the flipperoo. And I was like, their whole family is not paying out of their own pocket to come down here, and he can go somewhere else. And we spoke about this last week, that he was probably going to commit, and he did a day or two after the last live stream. So another big get for Miami at cornerback, but a potentially bigger get could be on the radar.
Which sets me up a beautiful segue there with 8 hard commits in this 22 class. That makes 2 in the top 100 and 5 in the top 300. And Cam is alluding to one Jaheim Singletary out of Jacksonville, who decommitted from Cam's favorite school just a few days ago. And not necessarily as exciting as just the flat out that he listed Miami, of course, among his, I think, 5 schools. He opened up the recruitment, listed, I think, 4 or 5 schools that Miami was on the list. But I think it could be a good indication, considering he decommitted after the trip to Coral Gables.
Right. So it started off as a secret visit, and then it got out because, there's people around. But Jaheim Singletary, 5-star cornerback in this class, top 15, top 10 player in America, was committed to Ohio State. And then took a visit, an unofficial visit to Miami last weekend. And obviously people are going to be there and people are going to be around and, kind of, sources say, and then like somebody had a picture of him, you know what I mean, on campus. Can't miss that, bro. And so that then got out, and then in the midst or at the end of that visit, he then decommitted from O State and everything, and talked openly about his commitment, or his not commitment, excuse me, his relationship with T-Rob, Travaris Robinson, Miami's secondary coach, which bodes well, potentially. Now, a player of that caliber, everybody in America is going to be after him. So nothing is done. Nothing is finalized. But here's where you work things out. I'm not kicking any of our DB commits out of this class. But if Jaheim Singletary wants in, the answer is yes, and you work it out. You convince somebody else to move to safety. You can tell somebody maybe to switch to offense, things like that. But yeah, if he wants in, he's definitely a guy that you take, and Miami is in a good place in Singletary's recruitment as it moves forward. Georgia also is another team that's charging hard for him. So again, nothing is set in stone, but if Miami does some work, it stands to reason that Jaheim Singletary could come here. Which again, after setting that 3-man class and talking about, okay, yeah, boom, 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 and then all of a sudden, the best or second best corner in this class, depending on if Travis Hunter wants to play cornerback or wide receiver, one of the top handful of cornerbacks in this class, a 5-star, all of a sudden it's like, hey, Miami might be the move. After I wax poetic and everybody's wax poetic about building this 3-man class of Rogers, Fagans, and Graves, come on down, boss. We'll work it out. We got 5-6 dudes in the secondary who play all at once. So it's not cornerback where you're going to quarterback, where you got one ball, one guy's going to, hey, come on down, we'll work it out.
Yeah, it's lining up well. Top 15 player in the nation, regardless of position. He is way up the charts.
Hello.
Markeith Williams, he's going to make an announcement on August 11th, apparently.
Yeah, safety from Orlando Evans High School. That is where Ishmael Aristide, the new outside linebacker strikers coach, went to high school back in the day. Markeith Williams is another blue chip defender at the safety position, and one that I would definitely take on my roster. He's another guy who's been to Miami a couple times for official or unofficial visits. I don't know if he's taken unofficial yet. I think he might have, but definitely been around the program. Definitely has a connection here. Was down for the cookout pool party thing last weekend as well. And that's another guy who I'll definitely take in this class. So things look good for Miami right now, but again, nothing is finalized. And we all know that silent commitments mean nothing until A, they announce it, or B, they eventually do sign. But if I were a betting man on August 5th for next week, Wednesday, on the 11th, I would put good money on Markeith Williams picking Miami.
And that provides more talent and depth for the secondary from the 22 class. He's a safety, 17th rated, 242 in the nation, number 28 in the state of Florida. That's the composite, 6'1", 170 out of Evans High School in Orlando. All right.
Santos Gunawardene. I think you got that right. Nice. Welcome.
Yes. Santosh. Thank you so much for the question here, and welcome. Yes, this is the first time I've seen your handle as well. Question about Cam's own Miramar High School and Darius Thomas.
Formerly, I don't work there anymore. Just want to put that out there for everybody. But yeah, no, y'all know I was there for 11 years, and I loved my time in Miramar High School. But Darius Thomas, he's another defensive back from Miramar who can play at this level. Brian Balaam is on the roster right now. You've had other guys like Tracy Howard before. Malcolm Lewis was a wide receiver, but same program. Ivan McCartney was an All-American. Geno Smith, Stedman Bailey. You've had other guys who go P5. I talked about Yadni Kajust, who you would like Flip Carswell to commit. If you follow Kajust's developmental path, who went from Miramar to West Virginia as an offensive lineman, formerly as a basketball player, that would be it. So, I mean, Miramar is a program that everybody should know, if nothing else. And you're not going to necessarily have, it's not Aquinas, okay? It's not Central, it's not Northwestern. You're not going to have 47 dudes every year. But you're going to probably have a couple of guys every couple of years who can play at a Power 5 level. They stay there, they don't leave out to go transfer to another school, and they have the size, skill, athleticism, and talent and potential. And Darius Thomas is one of those guys. Still know a lot of people over there at Miramar, still talk to a lot of people over there at Miramar. And yeah, he's a guy who I expect to be a Power 5 guy. Now, he might be in the same mold as a Brian Balaam, where he's not going to be a superstar, but he can be a depth rotation guy, you know. And look, I know y'all thinking, Brian Balaam in that Clemson game, yeah. Nobody thought he was going to step in as a true freshman, right? You could tell he has these big eyes, you know. You could tell that Balaam was like, he's a little fish out of water because everybody's not a day one player. But I think that he's going to be a solid contributor in his career at Miami. And I think that Darius Thomas can be a solid contributor at Miami or any other, not necessarily any other, but in a good Power 5 program that fits him. But yeah, he's a guy who I would think you should know, whether it's you as a Miami fan or because Miramar High School is 2 square miles away. Like literally, you can stand at the 50-yard line of a Bronco Stadium field on the campus of Miramar High School. Yes, I remember all that from my announcing days. And look southeast and see Hard Rock Stadium. You know what I mean? So you can, or not even just on the 50, but anywhere on that field, you can stand there and see the stadium, right? So if it's only a couple square miles away, you're going to want to know a guy in your backyard like that. That would be like saying, oh, there's a kid at Norland who can play, but I wouldn't know him. And Norland is walking distance from Hard Rock Stadium. So for that reason, as a Miami fan, you would want to know Darius Thomas. And if you're a recruiting fan or somebody who wants to know, okay, maybe a name that could rise as a senior, put on a really good show, earn, you know, be a high 3-star, maybe low 4-star, getting some looks from some other bigger teams than the ones that he's already getting looks from. Darius Thomas is one of those guys. And yeah, I do definitely think that with his progressional path, and he's big, he's like 6'1", 210 or 205 or something like that. He's a guy who has a physicality also to play up at the Power 5 level, whether it's at Miami or at another school.
Darius Thomas appears to be one of those guys that the recruiting services are still catching up on. Yeah. Does not have a composite ranking. 247 Sports, 64th rated safety, number 136 in the state of Florida. And the offer list is kind of uneven. You've got FIU and FAU on one end, but you got Georgia and Texas A&M on the other end.
Right. You know, so I don't, you know, sometimes people do play the offer game of like who is offered, then we're going to bump up the list or the ranking and things like that. But Thomas has been on campus a couple times, played or participated at Paradise Camp. He's a guy who Miami's staff knows, okay? And Brian Balaam being only a year really removed from Miramar, you know, because he's a second year, a super freshman or whatever, he knows of Thomas. So he's probably saying, hey, coach, telling me. You know, so like he's a guy who's known in the world of recruiting. And if you think about it, Georgia, they come down here for players all the time. You know, they got the Cook brother from Central. You know, they've gotten some other guys from down here to go up there. The other Ridley brother, Caven, who went by Riley or whatever. Yeah, so he went up there. You know, so they stay. And there's others. That's not the exhaustive list. But, you know, they come to South Florida and they look for guys. You know, Jimbo, from when he was at Florida State, will come down to South Florida. So now he's taking that same show on the road over there. Had a couple guys who Miami went out on, like a Keith Brown and a Donnell Jones, I think his name was, the defensive end from South Florida. Booker T. Washington and Keith Brown was at Central after leaving Global Prep. They went out to Texas A&M. So again, you're looking at the teams that are connected to or have offered or connected or are communicating with Thomas, and you see where those connections are and why those happen. And I think that other teams are going to see, okay, wait, Kirby went down there and talked to or offered this kid. Jimbo went down there and talked to or offered this kid. What if we, Pittsburgh, what if we, Nebraska, what if we, Arizona State, who has lost 2 commitments from safeties from down here, what if we go talk to Darius Thomas? Because he might not be a take for Georgia or Texas A&M, or they might be vibrating higher and looking at somebody at the more like at the top of their list. But what if we call him and try to get him? because they might not have room, or you know what I mean? And that's how things can escalate. But yeah, he's definitely a player who can play at the P5 level, short story long.
Miami football talk here, folks, every week with Cam Underwood, State of the U. And now is the time, with the clock ticking to the opener, to head on over to State of the U, get caught up. You want to be the smartest guy in the room concerning Miami football, college football, the ACC, the whole deal, entering this Alabama game. So get on over there, soak it up, of course, lock it in here as well. Coconut Kane is wondering about, in terms of the assistant coaches, if one, based on past performance, it's easy in the head coaching circuit. We look at records, and so it's easy to say, okay, the expectations are here. His record's this, therefore he might be on the hot seat, and those lists are all over the place. But in terms of assistant coaches, it's not as tangible. But what would you think about the assessment there going into 21?
First of all, I was singing a song in my head when you said the name of the handle. It's a jazz tune called Coconut Champagne for brass jazz band. It's actually pretty dope. My jazz band in high school played it. My buddy Nick had a trombone solo and everything. The one by Maynard Ferguson is the one you're going to want, because Maynard Ferguson played incredible first trumpet, and he goes on these solo runs that are ridiculous. So Coconut Champagne is a song. That's what I was singing. In case you were wondering, because I know that I was singing, I was like, oh my God, my microphone's still on. Anyways, the singular answer that I think it would have to be for an assistant coach that you're watching this year is John Packey at linebacker / special teams coordinator. He was outside linebackers coach before, special teams coordinator. And the thing with Miami's high special teams ranking is this: returns are being ignored, because you have the Lou Groza award-winning kicker last year. You have his younger brother taking over the Borregales kicking dynasty, with Andy taking over for Jose at kicker this year. You have the runner-up for the best punter in America, who I believe had a case to win it last year, in Lou Headley, and is the odds-on favorite to win this year, to be the Ray Guy Award winner for the best punter. And those kicking game things, you have a great snapper, you have a great holder, because the process of all those kicks has been flawless. And shout out to all of them. But the return game for Miami has been atrocious. And I think the success of kicking the ball has overshadowed the dearth of performance in return game. So I want to see the good stay good and the bad get better on special teams. That's one. Two, every time Mark has asked me over the course of, I don't know, this has been probably 2 years now, 2 or 3 years, Cam, what position's struggling? Where do you want to see something different? Where can improvement be seen? Invariably, the answer has been linebacker. And this is a guy who's tasked with recruiting them, coaching them, deploying them, and just getting them to not be as terrible as they once were. So you're in charge of two things that need arguably the most improvement on the entire roster and the entire program right now: linebacker play and kick and punt returning. Also, the coverage units, sometimes as well. But if they're kicking the ball, whether it's a punt or a field goal or an extra point, great, cool. But there's more to special teams than just foot to ball. So for those reasons of the other things in special teams needing to be better and linebacker play needing to be better, the answer for who's on the hot seat, if it doesn't get better, John Packey. Sorry, boss. But you coach big-time college football, and that's how it is.
DeQuandre Miller throwing out 3 names at the cornerback position, but the basic question is your thoughts about what the rotation could look like.
We're going to see if, first of all, if Al Blades is healthy, because he had a heart issue that caused him to miss the last half of last year. So I want to be healthy and safe. That's number one. Tyreek Stevenson's going to start at cornerback. Corey Couch should probably start at nickel. Then it's going to be Al Blades and or DJ Ivey and Isaiah Dunson in the rotation. You're probably going to have, what's his name? Malik Curtis get some snaps when he can get some snaps as well. And also you've moved Jalen Harrell, who was a big safety at like 6'2", 210. You moved him from safety to cornerback as well. So that's pretty much the entire depth chart there. If I had to say my starters right now on August 5th before they've taken a snap of fall camp, it would be Stevenson at one corner. It would be Ivy until somebody unseats him at the other corner. and Couch is the one. Well, Couch probably the second corner sliding inside for nickel in like nickel, 5 defensive back situations. That would be it. So Stevenson 1, Couch 2, and then Couch sliding to nickel with probably Ivy off the bench in a 3 cornerback situation. That's my initial early feeling on the rotation at cornerback. But again, this is a position where improved performance can earn people tons of playing time. So if Jalen Harrell is making that transition well, if Isaiah Dunson is bossing up like he can, cool, I'm with it.
I love to see the new viewers, but in this case, we've got an old viewer, first time, long time, from Josias Flores. Josias, great to hear from you. And I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Yes. Make your presence known from time to time. Good to hear from you. Falconer X, we hear from him often, and we're glad we do. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Falconer X. All right. So Texas-Oklahoma news came out 2 weeks ago today. It was pretty much substantiated that it was more than rumor, and now we know it's a done deal. And there's been all sorts of rumors regarding just about every conference, obviously every conference, just about every team, all over the place across the nation of what could possibly transpire, from simple conferences picking up a team here and there to these massive mega conferences to great alliances forming, Big Ten and Pac-12 and others. Okay. So at this point, you know that anybody who just wants some kind of attention on social media, or they write a column, that they can drop names like Miami and Ohio State and all Pac-12, the key buzzword names, and attach it to something else, and they'll get some kind of clicks or attention. Okay. And then it's up for us to try to figure out, is this legitimate? And things have gotten so crazy that it seems as though almost anything's feasible unless somebody presents an argument that involves some kind of academic barrier or just substantial money barrier. And so this one I heard, I think for the first time yesterday, Miami to the Big Ten.
I went back and I listened because so Mike Ryan on the Dan Le Batard show is the one who said something about this. The statement was, he heard from somebody, Mike Ryan that is, that if again, that conditional statement that I was talking about the other day, if there was a move or something to transpire with Miami moving, the Big Ten would be the one that would fit if that were to happen. So all that conditional to say, in a perfect world, or in this person's imagined society, if we're switching conferences, if Miami is going somewhere, the Big Ten would be the one that would fit. That is not saying that has been discussed. That's not saying that it's imminent. That's not saying anything. He's just saying, hey, I could see this being the way that it could go. So that's where that came from. And then people kind of aggregated the aggregation and things like that. And it got twisted up a little bit. Regardless of if there's a move or not, I will agree with my buddy Roman, who writes for State of the U. And I will say this. If there is a major landscape shift of college football that has now begun with Texas and Oklahoma. And so that was the first, or that was crossing the vanguard to whatever the new thing is going to be. My only requirement is that Blake James have Miami not be left behind, not be an afterthought, not be, I mean, everybody's reactionary, but you know what I mean? Not be completely, okay, well, everything else is done. Now let's figure out, musical chairs. Music stopped. Everybody's sitting now in different seats than they were. Now let me go and evaluate where I could possibly go. I don't want to see that. And with things, obviously, because Texas and Oklahoma are no damn big, SEC teams. They're not SEC schools. They're not, but whatever. It's all contrivance anyway. But my point is, if things are moving around and Miami could move around, or whomever could move around, Michigan could, USC could, UCLA, who knows? I'm just saying that don't have us out in the cold trying to figure out where we're going to land and how to get warm. You know what I mean? So yeah, just don't be last. is my ask from Blake James. So if there are calls that need to be made and scenarios we need to evaluate, I would say make those calls and evaluate those scenarios so that we're not left unawares, because obviously tectonic plates of college football are already started to shift. So if you stay in the same place, you're probably going to get left behind. So get on the good foot and figure out where we're going to go.
The reason that, and I know you're just throwing names out there to a certain extent when you mentioned Michigan, the reason that I don't think Big Ten teams are vulnerable or wanting to move would be, regardless of what the situation's been on the field, which in my evaluation has been simply like most, the SEC dominates the sport. It's been the best conference for most of 15 years or so. The Big Ten, though, financially, in regards to attendance, TV ratings, and then financially is right there with them. It's like very close. And actually, the Big Ten has paid out a little bit more the last 2 years than the SEC. So they're in the like 68 or 70 million per school revenue distribution. So think about this. Illinois is getting more TV money than Miami, than Oklahoma, than USC, like double. So you got the SEC and the Big Ten is like 65, 68 million, something in that range. Then the ACC is like 32, 35 million, something like that. Then the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are a little bit behind that. So you've got a 2-to-1 deal right now. I understand the estimations for the SEC, even though they have to distribute the money to 2 additional schools with the influx of the Texas, Oklahoma brand, are going to be more like 90 some million. Mm-hmm. So now if you're trying to compete with a league that's paying out 3 times as much money in TV revenue, then you're not necessarily in a great position going forward. Where the Big Ten is still, I don't know if they want to get into an arms race with the SEC. They're already in one, and they're kind of a conservative conference by nature. So I don't expect them just to go out there and just grab football schools, because they have an academic base as well that's very important to them. Mm-hmm. And Miami would fit that bill from the standpoint of being an academics standard that meets the Big Ten.
The highest rated academic institution in the state of Florida for going on 20 years now is the University of Miami, in case you were wondering. I know people, of our collective ages, like, let's suntan you. There is that, but also go look up the advancements and improvements that we've done in the world of academics. And you also have, and I'm going to say it because I was a music major, you have a top 3 non-conservatory music school. So like not Juilliard or Berkeley that only do music, but a school of music at an institution, top 3, along with USC and probably Indiana. If you're thinking like North Texas, they specialize in jazz. They're also very good. LSU has a good program as well. But Miami's School of Music is top 3 non-conservatory schools around. You have Erasmus, the Rosenstiel School of Marine Atmospheric Science, which is an industry and world leader in terms of oceanography and all kinds of ocean life research and things like that. If you're looking on academics, there's a lot to like there, and you expand that footprint and everything. So if you have teams like O State are like, hey, we can bring in Miami and then have more of a foothold to go recruit down there in South Florida. Same thing for Michigan, same thing for Iowa, Indiana, and those teams do get some guys from, South Florida, but hey, we can improve that and things like that. There are plenty of things that could lead. And again, this is the foundation for saying, if it were to go in that way, there are reasons why you could see, or one could see, a person could see Miami fitting in the Big Ten. I don't even think that that's going to happen. But again, regardless of what's going to happen, have a clear plan for where the Miami Hurricanes athletic department and football team especially, because that's the big moneymaker, where they're going to participate in the landscape of college athletics moving forward, whether it's in the ACC, whether that's in wherever, if there's something new or whatever. But don't be caught unawares. Don't be caught out last trying to, figure out what's going to happen. Be proactive and figure out what it's going to be, whether it's in the ACC, whatever that will look like, or elsewhere.
The Big Ten made the move, of course, about 7 or 8 years ago to go get Maryland and Rutgers. And from a football standpoint, that's been pretty much an embarrassment. They've both been awful. they went after TV markets. They pretty much latched on to what is a deteriorating, I won't say dying breed, because there's still whatever 75 or 80 million cable homes, but they went after Baltimore, the DMV, New York City. There, from a football standpoint, there are no contiguous states to the Big Ten territory that's going to help them with TV ratings, money. Iowa State, they're playing good football, but you don't buy based on the current status of Iowa State doesn't bring it for the Big Ten. Cincinnati doesn't. West Virginia does not. So if the geography gets blown up, then maybe the Big Ten makes some kind of leap like that.
Right. And I mean, outside of West Virginia, you have the flagship school in all of those states already in the Big Ten. And I mean, no offense, but if you're an Iowa State grad, Iowa's the flagship school, the University of Iowa. You know what I mean? Same thing you were talking about, Cincinnati, OSU, the flagship institution in that state. Like, you already have the big dog. So, like, yeah, you could add the little brother or the additional family member or whatever. But, like, we already got the number one in that state, in this area, in this region, with the exception of West Virginia, because there's no Big Ten team in West Virginia. But that being the one outlier. So, like, yeah, you could go and get, like, the other one. I know you're thinking, well, there's Michigan and MSU. Yeah, well, yeah. Even MSU is the number two, who's actually won a lot recently, and all my MSU fans would say that they're the number one. They're wrong, but okay. But they are winning currently. I will give them that credit. But MSU is on a higher status than I would say the other teams that you're talking about, like Iowa State or Cincinnati and things like that. They just are. So even in that, then okay, cool. So you got two big dogs in one state. Boom. But yeah, like you're talking about, if geography does get blown up, then maybe Miami does become very trendy and in the eyes of some others, whether that's in the Big Ten or elsewhere. But again, in terms of focusing in orange and green, as long as Blake James has a clear plan and works towards that clear plan for the secure future for Miami Hurricanes athletics, I can get down with pretty much wherever that is. And as long as we get back to the business of what? Winning.
Ohio Canes fan is showing up for the Michigan State game, speaking of which.
Let's go.
And he wants to make sure that he's going to be able to find a seat, and there's going to be seats sold and all of that. Have there been any announcements regarding there being full attendance or partial?
They're selling tickets, so it's supposed to be full. I say supposed to be. With the Delta variant of the coronavirus taking hold and the skyrocketing number of cases here in lovely sunny Florida. Who knows? I know at the Secret Day Job, we're having some discussions about how things are going to go from an operations standpoint for all of us who work at the Secret Day Job. There's been conversations I know from other people about their, day job situations and other kinds of things. So at this point, everything should be fine. But we'll see about the future. Hey, thank you, Mike Williams, for the super chat. Appreciate that. Luke Walker had a great question.
He did. I wanted to honor the super chats. That's the only reason I took off from that. But Luke Walker was asking about basically what the signing class is going to look like in regards to a final number.
Yeah, and that's obviously, roster construction is so key, especially, there are lots of teams. Pretty much every team is taking fewer because you're trying fewer players than normal because you're trying to leave some spaces open for transfer portal for transfer portal and things like that to maybe transpire, because we've even seen guys like Isaiah Walker Jr. Went to Florida as an early enrollee, was like, I'm good on that, and then transferred to Miami after spring at Florida. So that's one. Cody Brown got let out of his NLI at Tennessee after their coaching change. He came down, so that's one that counts as a transfer portal, even though he had never set foot there. He had just signed his NLI. So if you're counting some guys back and looking to count forward, Miami has 3 that you're counting back. So guys who came in last year, but are counted towards this year's scholarship allocation. So to my count, that's 22. available scholarships. And then if you want to leave 3 to 4 open for 4, excuse me, Jesus, get this fur out of your mouth, Cameron. Fur. Sorry. If you want to leave some scholarship slots for transfer portal players open, I would say between 18 and 19 is probably the final number of scholarships that Miami is looking to take this year, with leave for, some flexibility, agility, if, a Jakeem Singletary wants in at the last minute. But we had 18 already. 19 with him, and we'll work it out. You know what I mean? So things like that. Well, then you also need to look forward and say, who might you go after in the transfer portal? What positions are you looking to maybe target? Quincy Roche at defensive end before, DeAndre Johnson at defensive end, Tyreek Stevenson at cornerback this year. So there have been like specific positions and specific players that you're targeting to use those 2, 3, 4 slots for the transfer players in. I think you're still going to leave those open. So again, I would say between 18 and 19 is the number that I'm looking for Miami to sign from high school, from the preps ranks this year, leaving those other ones open and having the previous ones counted forward for guys like, the aforementioned Tyreek Stevenson, DeAndre Johnson, Cody Brown, and Justice Oluwaseun.
I would be less surprised to hear fur come out of your mouth if you were from northern Florida, if you lived in northern Florida, correct? No?
Yeah,
Okay.
I get to talking fast sometimes, and I don't form my vowels all the way, and I will form my O vowels for 4 because
you and everybody else.
No, yeah, you're right.
You and everybody else. Falconer X, appreciate that so much. Of course. Thanks for being here and contributing, as always, sir. Recruiting services pick up all the usual suspects. Winning coaches find underrated players. The great Miami teams did this. How do we do it again?
I think that there's some underrated players that you're going to get and you're going to be able to develop them. Gregory Rousseau. He's a guy who just didn't have 3 square meals, really. He didn't have a proper nutrition program. Because he's, 6'6", 205, playing wide receiver and safety. Get him in here with a weight and a nutrition program, and all of a sudden, bang, you saw what happened, right? So you're going to get maybe a couple of those. But the thing about it is, again, with the proliferation of digital film and like the internet making the world smaller, I can text a coach. You know what I mean? If I'm Michigan, if I'm Penn State, right? If I'm anybody, I can text a coach. Well, I'm Nick Saban. Coach, this is Saban from Alabama. You're at Titusville. You're at Yulee. You're at Duncan U. Fletcher High School. Who you got this year? Nah, Coach, I got him. All right, cool. Well, I'll text you next year. Hey, have a great season. Let me know how it goes and everything. Continue that, communication. Whereas in the past, if you didn't get out to Traz Powell on Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and yes, all of those days are when high school football is played at Traz Powell Stadium in northern Miami-Dade County. If you didn't get out there Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, you didn't see those guys. You know what I mean? And it's just different. So you're going to need to develop whoever you get on the roster anyway, but especially if you're going to take those 3-star guys, your 3, 4, 5-year developmental guys. I've talked about them before, and we've had some of them. Danny Isadora ended his career 5th-year senior as a second-team All-ACC. John Feliciano, same thing. Both of those guys are still in the NFL. Those were both guys who were developed a little bit. David Njoku was a 3-star. Incredibly athletic, but very raw. You develop him, first-round draft pick, still in the league. So you're going to have to develop guys, but you're also going to need to get the top guys or blue-chip guys and have them come in and be dudes, right? If you think back to Duke Johnson, opener at Boston College, scored once or twice, 5-star, everybody's All-American, came in and did 5-star All-American things and is the all-time leading rusher. We didn't have to wait 3, 4, 5 years to see that. So the guys who need to come in, who you intentionally plan to come in and be at the top of your roster, they need to do that. And then the other guys you need to develop. But finding this one diamond in the rough, 2-star, nobody knows about him, from the Bahamas and plays everything and can do everything and ends up being the #1 overall draft pick, that's a pipe dream. And I hope that you guys can let that go. But there are ways to get guys who are maybe a little bit under a blue chip rating and develop them over the course of time while still creating the space for your superstar recruits to become your star level players and your superstar program changing players before going on to the next level. Both of those developmental paths, or all three of them, if you want to talk about it being three different ones, all those can occur, but you have to intentionally plan and work to make those happen. And I think that's more important than finding diamonds in the rough or underrated guys. Because look, everybody wants the rated guys. You know what I mean? Everyone wanted Jerry Jeudy. Everybody wanted Amari Cooper. Everybody wanted Teddy Bridgewater. Everybody wanted all these guys. And it's for a reason. So you got to get those guys as well.
Cam, do you think you could make a quote unquote generic all-star team out of, let's say, 2-star recruits? Like JJ Watt was a 2-star, correct?
JJ Watt was a 2-star, and he went to Central Michigan and he played tight end. And then he transferred to Wisconsin and grew 4 inches and gained 40 pounds of lean muscle. Like, like the Khalil Mack at Buffalo, same thing. Grew 1.5 inches, gained 35 pounds of lean muscle, and got faster and quicker while doing it. Those transformations are the things that need to happen for your 2-stars to really become that. But Elliott, I think he wrote it. I don't know if he wrote it at SB Nation before he went over to 247 or if it's on 247, but he evaluated what it took takes for 2-star guys to turn into, high-level draft picks and NFL stars. And it's a body-changing experience of growth, and that's both in height and in weight of lean muscle while getting more athletic while doing it. It's the very few that are able to accomplish such a task and have the, just the growth and the personal growth and developmental path for their bodies to have that happen. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that you can get to a team, but you could probably mention some guys who are like 2 stars or 3 stars that ended up developing to being household names. You could probably build that. Yeah.
Because if you're Miami and you're expected to bring in a top 10 to 15 class in the nation and you do too much of what Falconer X mentioned, then the probability of you hitting, even if you're very confident in your evaluation process, if you can't take too many shots at those guys and miss, and the probability is high that you're going to miss.
Yeah.
You can't have a class of 20 and take a shot at like 7 guys like that.
Well, and this is going to be uncomfortable for Canes fans. We can, and we did. And if you look back at some of those, some of those Randy Shannon, some of those Al Golden classes, they were the hits, but there were some incredible misses and lots of them. And again, that kind of class construction is what leads me to believe that this Florida State class is trending down, even with superstars at the top, because they got all of these random just a guy 3 stars, and they're trying to, we're going to develop them, and they're going to change their bodies, and they're going to da-da-da-da. Seen that movie. I know how it ends, and it's not good for you because we lived that in Miami for many, many a time. So you can do it. You just will not get the results that you're looking for in the doing of that.
Husias, thank you so much for the pronunciation clarification. This was a Midwesterner Mark trying to pronounce your name just based on the spelling there. So Husias, thank you for being here. Thank you for the clarification, and welcome aboard for the live show. All right, let's go grab a couple super chats coming in. Once again, Falconer X and Mike Williams, we appreciate you. And let's go to back to Falconer X. What you got? Florida State's class is lean on top recruits with lots of 2 and 3 stars, so I guess you can see that as a plan for failure. Yes, that's what Cam just outlined. Then we also have, see, that's been my, and I am no recruiting guy. Again, I soak up a lot of information because I talk to guys like Cam like all day. Not to his degree, but guys that are following it either because they really follow it or they just follow Texas Tech, fill in the blank, and by extension, they know who they're recruiting and going after. And so I just soak up names and numbers and in regards to recruiting numbers. And I've even been looking at this Florida State class thinking, man, this is a high wire act. It looks real impressive at the top, but then it really plunges into the, the 80th tight end in the country and the 104th offensive tackle in the country, and a lot of dudes that you're going to have in your class of 20 or 22, but you don't want them in your top 10.
I'm going to read you off some numbers here. 168 in the state, not ranked nationally. 88 in position, not ranked nationally. 67 in position, not ranked nationally. JUCO, so exclusion. 98 in position, not ranked nationally. 96 in position, not ranked nationally. 82nd in position, not ranked nationally. 79th in position, not ranked nationally. 63rd position, not ranked nationally. 75th in position, not ranked nationally. 74th, not ranked. All of those guys, 98th at his position, 836 in the country. 72nd at position, 827 in the country. 95th is at his position, 825 in the country. 31st position, 687 in the country. 28th position, 657th in the country. 41st is position, 577 in the country. Every last one of those players was in the same class as third position, 20th overall. First position, 23rd overall. That was Miami's 2012 recruiting class, with Duke Johnson and Tracy Howard at the top, 2 5-stars, top 3 at their positions, top 25 overall. And then all the other. Bro, I'm saying, like, this is not, if you're new to this, like, with all due respect to you, I'm true to this, bro. Like, I've seen this, we've lived this. Like, I was blogging about all that back then. You can read all the stuff that I wrote. You can read stuff that was, in other places, that, and like that people, we have had these discussions. Me and Bud Elliott, me and Andrew Ivins. You can read John Garcia Jr., who's now at Sports Illustrated, Sanjay Kirpalani, Tyler Donahue, all these guys in the world of recruiting. Bro, these are things that have been said, and there's more. That's not everybody. If you're a Chad Simmons guy, you're a Woodrow, what's his name? Woodrow Wilson, not Wilson. Woody from Rivals, Sean's guy. Bill Kurelik, Rivals, writes for O State, been down to South Florida Express trials down here. There's so many guys. We've had these conversations year over year over year over year, bro. And again, you go look it up. So their class is very similar in formation right now. And each one of those first guys who was not ranked nationally, I'm going to tell you the names, Canes fans, right? And so you can relive this with me. David Thompson, baseball player, Davey Baseball, cool, went to baseball. Jaquan Ivory, Jake O'Donnell. I'm skipping Ladarius Gunner because he was a JUCO, and so, yeah, he's the outlier. Josh Witt from Cypress Bay, Gabe Terry from West Palm Beach Central, Nate Dortch, Larry Hope, Danny Dillard, Vernon Davis, Antonio Crawford.
Not the Vernon Davis.
Not the Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis, the cornerback who went to Coral Reef. Not the other one from over yonder. But, outside of that, like, which one of those guys, what was the favorite play of the guys that I just named that they had on the football field here at Miami? Not talking about Dave Thompson playing third base and dropping bombs on the baseball field. No. Those guys, and there were some that I didn't even get up because there were guys who were ranked. Jacoby Briscoe from Louisiana, Preston Dewey, Gray Crow, Damari Jones, Jawan Blue, Jontavius Carter. Where were the plays? Where was the impact on the field? Where was the development from all these guys and moving forward and being better? And yeah, they're a 3-star, but we're going to unlock that potential. Where was it? What was the favorite play? Somebody in the chat tell me right now, what was the favorite play from any of those guys that I just named? You can't. And if you can, it's probably a single rep from a single day of practice that they leaked the film. Because the student or the student athlete, the player, was watching the film, took up their cell phone and said, yo, I did that, and posted it on social. And so then you saw that one single snap. Those guys, none of those guys made a play. Not a single one that you will remember. Not a single, even halfway decent play on the football field on the varsity level for Miami Hurricanes. I'm not talking about intramurals. I'm not talking about in the weight room. I'm not talking about in practice. I don't really care about practice. I'm talking about games. They're going to win games. Where did any of those guys make a play? Not a single one. But if I go back and now I'm going to count the number of those guys, starting with Briscoe, 1, Dewey, Crow, Jones, Blue, Carter, skipping Rayshawn Jenkins, skipping Taylor Gadbois, who I probably shouldn't, but I will anyway, Crawford, Davis, Dillard, Hope is 10, Dortch, Terry, Witt, skipping Gunner, O'Donnell's 14, Ivory's 15, Thompson, that's 16 of those guys in the same class. Nary a play to be found amongst them. There's your proof. There it is. And I'm so sorry. That's more the rule than the exception. But then you have other teams or other classes that are built the same way and saying, oh, it's going to be different. Seen that movie already, boss. But again, my @ on Twitter is @Underwood Sports. I dare and defy you, honestly and truly, I dare you and defy you to find or name the memorable play from any of those 16 guys in football for Miami. Hop in my mentions. I ain't got nothing but time. Let it ride. Send this to your friends. Talk in your group chat about it. Debate, discuss. Come back to me, whether it's next week, whether it's a week after, a month from now, after the Alabama game. I don't care. Let me know what the play is because it doesn't exist because we didn't have it from those guys. Now, from the top of that class, scroll. Duke Johnson, all-time career-leading rusher. Tracy Howard, 5-star. Jelani Hamilton. Wasn't as good as I thought he could be coming out of St. Thomas Aquinas, but he had a couple moments. Tyreek McCord, that's a good one. Deion Bush, that's a good one. Raphael Kirby, that's a good one. Eric Flowers, first-round draft pick, that's a good one. Malcolm Lewis was starting as a true freshman, had the ankle thing, had a decent career, but not, the injury kind of curtailed that, but he still had some moments. Danny Isadora, again, I already mentioned, fifth-year senior, second-team All-ACC. Herb Waters made plays. Oh, and then there's some other guys like Dwayne Hollett and Robert Lockhart, who never did anything. And Earl Moore was kind of just a guy. But again, you got 4 or 5 guys at the top of the class in 16 to 17 to 18 who didn't do anything. And again, so this is going to be Cam's challenge this week. Find a play that any of those guys that I previously listed made that was memorable or impactful to a game in a positive way, to any game while they're here at Miami playing football. I dare and defy you. My mentions are open at Underwood Sports. Holla at me.
You just, in one class at least, substantiated the recruiting rankings. I thought when you started the exercise that you were running down Florida State's current class, which I'm looking at right now. And
that's why I did it that way, so that everybody went along that path, because I know everybody in the chat was like, oh, I'm going to shit on them. Oh, I'm going to talk bad. And then I hit you with the Matthew McConaughey from A Time to Kill, but imagine she was white. And so, whoa, what? I wasn't thinking that. Excuse me, I wasn't thinking that way. I did that intentionally. Yeah. And that's how very similar it is. So now Florida State, the correlation there is, if I didn't talk about that class, and the class that you have right now is very similar, henceforth, therefore.
It's not quite as bad. It's not quite as bad.
It's not. Because that was
from the bottom, you got 58 at the position, unranked nationally, 65 at the position, unranked nationally, 71 at the position, 889, 58 at the position, 562 nationally, 69 at the position, 458 nationally, 66 at the position, 449. And then you got 44 at the position, 448, 25 at the position, 447. And they're in that 440 range for quite a few before they finally break the 300. It takes a while. Yeah, they basically have 4 top 300 players. They're at 303 with number 5 as it stands right now.
And again, in that class for Miami, you had Duke Johnson, Tracy Howard, Jelani Hamilton, who was very highly touted coming out of Aquinas, Tyreek McCord, Deion Bush. You probably add in the Raphael Kirby, Eric Flowers, Malcolm Lewis. So, I mean, you're at 8 right there. So, again, very comparable.
So, Florida State doesn't get any more. They're at 18 hard commits. I don't know what the final number is going to be. It's not going to be that much higher. Low 20s, probably.
Yeah, and there will probably be churn.
Yeah, they're not going to get all those. But if you're, let's say, I'm not even going to go to the top of the chain, Georgia, Ohio State kind of classes. Go to like Penn State. Mm-hmm. You're not going to see numbers anywhere close to this on a Penn State commitment list.
Exactly.
All right. Santhosh asking, which 22 recruit do you think is strong possibly to Miami commit that is flying under the radar from us fans? We need some more names to get behind.
I mean, Markeith Williams, the safety. I mean, everybody knows Shamar Stewart. He's a top 10 player in America, so I wouldn't say him. Being underrated. And Jaleel Skinner, the number 1 tight end in America. You know, if you don't know him, you should. Anthony Lucas, 6'5", 300-ish defensive lineman, lives in Arizona now because his family moved, but he's of Haitian descent. So when his family immigrated from Haiti, they landed here in South Florida in one of the enclaves for Haitian Americans, or Haitian immigrants. Before going out there, maybe he's a guy who's not on the top of people's brain, who's a blue chip kid, looking at, all big time kind of schools. So maybe he could be the guy. Because the other names you're going to know, like Julian Armella from Aquinas. If you don't know, now you know. But he's an offensive tackle. I'm not saying he's going to come here, but he's a guy that you should, whose name you should at least know if you're, a recruit. Jaden Gibson, Wesley Besaint. Those are names you should know. Malik Agbo. Maybe Malik Agbo, since he's from Washington State. So he's not here all of the time, but maybe that's a name that's slipped by you. Devon Jackson from Omaha, the linebacker. Not saying that he's going to come here at all, but he's a guy who we've been connected to. So I would say maybe some names like that before the board really expands and whatnot. But and there's a defensive tackle who's like Canadian or French or something, and he moved down here. I forget his name, but that would be a good one if I found the name. I can't right now, but if I find it, I will let you know. That might be a good one to know. Maybe the Henderson twins, something along those lines. Jakari and Damari, if you're looking for their names.
Excellent, sir. Thank you so much again, as usual, for all the knowledge that you drop for us each and every week. Cam, you can join him and the rest of the staff there at State of the U. Of course, again, fall camp fired up on Friday. So you guys need to head on over there. And we got as much Miami content as we can possibly get to.
Yep.
And right here as well.
And I am able to share with you the thing I teased from last week. So in case you've been paying attention on social media, big new Saturday from Home Field, the vintage apparel company, for this Saturday at noon, your Miami Hurricanes. So a new collection of vintage apparel will be dropping. So last week was that team up in Gainesville. There's also been like Notre Dame and Michigan and Tennessee and all kinds of other teams. So yeah, they've partnered or gotten a license from the University of Miami to use the old designs, and they've culled through and they've created 14 incredible designs. I'm looking at them as I click right now. I'm looking at them. They're right over here, and they're pretty good. Let me click back. So yeah, just check us out. Partnering with Home Field for that drop on Saturday at 12. So if you've been looking for some new gear heading into the season, like we all do, that's a great way to increase your Miami Hurricanes wardrobe. And, if you're like, my age, but I don't have any kids, but if you do have kids that are Hurricanes fans, maybe you introduce them to some of the designs that were around when you fell in love with the Hurricanes, maybe grow their appreciation for the history in the past for the Miami Hurricanes, and then also just look very stylish while doing it. So check us out. I even have a promo code for you guys that's coming up on Saturday, which Home Field usually doesn't do, but I said I wouldn't work with them if they didn't give you guys a promo code for some, the support and everything that you guys showed to me and State of the U and everything. So yeah, I got all that lined up for you. So check us out on the site, stateoftheu.com, and also on our Twitter at the State of the U. Already have those dialed up for you for Saturday. So yeah, come and check that out. I'm very excited to, continue to do that with and for you guys. And that just lets me know, because they came to me because I know they're going to a few people, but they came to me because, the content that we create and the following from you guys. So first of all, I appreciate you guys listening to the sound of my voice and reading the words that I and our other contributors to State of the U create and cultivate for you. But I'm glad to be able to, bring something to you for that, the Miami Hurricanes fans. So yeah, come check us out on Saturday for Big News Saturday in conjunction with Home Field and their Miami Hurricanes drop. That's going to be great. But on top of that, in addition, we still have plenty of stuff over on the website and even more coming out every single day. So please come on over and fan with us, stateoftheu.com, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the State of the U. And again, my personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports. And the challenge is there. Bring me the positive play from any one of those guys. I'll be looking to see it. I might be around. I might not. Sources tell me that Miami International Airport and some wonderful island destination are probably going to see my face this weekend. Sources close to Cam Underwood do confirm this. So I might be somewhere else, but I hope you guys do enjoy that. And again, thank you so much for stopping by and joining me and Mark here. I don't know when I'll see you. If it's going to be next week or the week after. Well, probably next week, because the week after that's my birthday. We'll figure it out. But anyway, stateoftheu.com, home field drop on Saturday at 12. Come and check it out. And again, thanks for stopping by.
Very cool. Everybody loves new gear, so check it out. Cam, you have yourself a great weekend.
Will do, man. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Everybody else do the same as well. We will see you next week.